in enforcing their code of silence in China, but it has been pushed beyond its borders here in the West. A number of multinational corporations have enabled that silence by turning freedom of speech into a commodity to be traded in order to safeguard ties with the world's second largest economy, China. Well, we will not forget, and we will not be silent. We will tell the world about the crimes that are being committed in the torture capital of the world. And we will insist that a government that crushes the rights and freedoms of its own people cannot be trusted. Today, we call on the US government to hold China to account for the war being waged against people of faith in Xinjiang, Tibet, and across the country. The officials responsible for carrying out these crimes, who have implemented these draconian policies, first in Tibet and then in Xinjiang, including Chen Guangguo, must be sanctioned by the US government and the international community. The US must also ensure that companies will no longer benefit from US technology and their human rights violations. And we call on the Congress to swiftly pass the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act. As Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom, Sam Brownback, said earlier this month in Hong Kong, China may be waging a war of faith, but this is a war they will not win. The gates of religious freedom will fly open in China, and the Iron Curtain of religious persecution will come down. So never give up and continue to speak up. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Now I would like to invite Zalala Anwar to read the statement from Congressman Tom Swaz.
Congressman Tom Swayze stands with the Uyghurs. He has sponsored legislation to help shed light on the persecution of the Uyghurs, and he will continue to speak out on their behalf. Congressman Swayze says, the Chinese government's authoritarian state uses re-education camps and surveillance methods that it pioneered in Tibet to target Uyghurs in Xinjiang, where the Chinese government has created a surveillance state unlike anything the world has seen. The Chinese Communist Party's campaign to destroy the cultural and religious identities of the ethnic minorities requires more than just words of condemnation. It requires U.S. leadership and action. I am proud to be part of a legislative body that advocates for the Uyghurs and for human rights and the rule of law in China. I, along with Representative Smith, Senators Rubio and Menendez, am leading the Uyghur Human Rights to Policy Act to hold accountable Chinese officials and businesses responsible for heinous human rights abuses. I am proud to say that Speaker Pelosi has co-sponsored this legislation. I will fight for the Uyghurs. The United States' strength is in our values and our policies, and it should not be separated from them. We must not lose hope, and we must continue to fight for the good of humanity. Thank you for your activism and commitment today, and I wish you all the best and offer you my support in your continued efforts to free the Uyghurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite Dilara Khalil to read a statement from Congressman James Mcgovern, a longtime supporter of the Uyghur people.
I'll be reading. Good afternoon, and thanks to all of you for the invitation to join you today. Although I am unable to be with you in person, I want you to know that I'm with you in spirit, and I stand in solidarity with your struggle on behalf of the rights and freedom of Uyghur people. That is why I was an original co-sponsor of both bills that you're here to support, the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act and the Uyghur Intervention and Global Humanitarian Unified Response Act of 2019. For too long, the U.S. government has talked the talk but not walked the walk when it comes to countering China's repression of Uyghurs' rights. We need to go beyond words. We need to make sure there are consequences for China's repression of the Uyghur people, These bills are an important step to that direction, and we need to work together to make sure they both pass. Please take the message to your members of Congress and tell your friends to tell their members of Congress. Congress must act. These bills must become laws. We have known for a long time that the Uyghurs in China suffer at the hands of the Chinese authorities. We have known about the restrictions imposed on the use of Uyghur language and on religion practices, including the training of Muslim clerics, the celebration of Ramadan, and use of veils and growing of beards. We have known how hard it is for Uyghurs to get passports when we have seen the reports of the forced repatriation of Uyghurs living outside of China. All of these policies violate the basic human rights of the Uyghur people. But in the last couple of years, the China have doubled down in a whole new way using cutting-edge surveillance technology and mass so-called re-education camps to try to stamp out Uyghur identity. People rightly fear what could come next. And that is why we are all here today. So let's get going. Let's pass these bills. Let's end the persecution of Uyghurs. Let's all say to China, great countries are right-respecting countries. Great countries do not fear, trample on ethnic minorities. Great countries do not put massive numbers of people in camps or caged or behind bars. Great countries let their people speak their language, practice their faith, live their lives. Until the Uyghurs have the right to live their lives as they choose, China will not be a great country. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Corby Johnson. Corby Johnson is a graduate student in New York and one of the organizers of Uyghur Rally. She will announce a petition about Magnitsky sanction and talk more about Magnitsky sanctions.
We founded Uyghur Rally with the conviction that the imprisonment of over 1 million people in China is an issue that everyone should care about. When we organized a rally in front of the UN this February, people asked us, why do you care about this issue? It isn't immediately obvious. We aren't Uyghur, and we've never been to Xinjiang. The truth is that the concentration camps in China affect all of us, regardless of citizenship or ethnicity. What is happening to the Uyghurs in China is far from an isolated situation. We can see the same rhetoric, the same technology, the same strategies being used far beyond China's borders. Many have pointed out the common language of terrorism around the world. When China tries to justify imprisoning over 1 million Uyghurs and depriving them of their religion, they mention terrorism. Muslims are dangerous, they say, and letting people practice religion openly is a threat to national security. The situation is no different anywhere else. Muslims around the world, from the US to Europe to New Zealand, have faced danger and death simply for practicing their religion. So when millions of people in China are targeted, oppressed, harassed, and tortured for their religion, we cannot turn away. Depriving the Uyghurs and other Muslims of the right to freely practice their religion affects us, not only when it happens in China, but when it happens anywhere. One of the most horrifying aspects of what the Uyghurs and other Muslims are facing in China now is the technology that has permeated every aspect of life in Xinjiang. Technology is used to track people's movements, track their faces, their bodies. Recently, we learned that technology produced by an American company, Thermo Fisher, was being used to gather DNA from the Uyghurs to better track people. This technology is not limited by borders and is not limited to the persecution of just Uyghurs. When we talk about the surveillance state that is oppressing the Uyghurs, we must remember that it has American roots. When we want to face the horrors happening in China, we can start right here in America. When we start with America, we start with American values. One of the values that we as Americans hold dear is religious freedom. When millions of people are being targeted because of their religion and are being imprisoned to try to strip them of their beliefs, we feel obligated to speak up. At a time when people around the world are being persecuted for their beliefs, the extremity of what the Uyghurs in China are facing stands out. Mosques are being monitored. Devout Muslims marked as suspicious people. Religious clothing is banned. Detainees in camps are forced to eat pork and denounce their religion. These acts, even in a foreign country, go against our beliefs. We are stronger when we stand together for our values and for religious freedom. We are stronger when we stand together against abuses everywhere. One of our greatest strengths as Americans is our economy. The U.S. has always been a home to innovation and growth, and our economy reflects this. Are used to fill and run the largest prisons in the world. We must stand up. The imprisonment of over 1 million Uyghurs and Muslims in China is not far from us now. It affects our values, our companies, our government. The next step is to encourage action. The U.S. government is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. The government is here to take our power and use it to cause change at home and abroad. Our goal today is to show the U.S. government and the Department of the Treasury that the time has come for sanctions through the Magnitsky Act against those responsible for the imprisonment and torture of over 1 million Muslims in China. American companies and American technologies have been used against American values, and the effects have been felt near and far. Our prosperity should not come from the suffering of others. Our freedom should not mean that others are deprived of theirs. Our silence cannot mean support for atrocities anywhere. We ask the Department of the Treasury, how much is freedom worth? Our answer is this. Freedom is worth over 1 million lives. Freedom is worth the right to practice your religion. Freedom is worth sanctions against China. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Brother Rafuddin Ahmad. He's the president of the Muslim Association of Virginia, interim chairman of the Virginia Council of Muslim Organizations, and the chairman of the board of the American Citizens Council.
Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. So I'm going to spare you guys. I'm not going to repeat a lot of the stuff that's already been said. So, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming down here today, this afternoon, sacrificing your time to give voice to the Uyghur people that have no voice right now. We live in the most powerful country in the world. We need to make sure that we advocate for the rights of the Uyghur people, to make sure the concentration camps, which they call the re-education centers, are ended. Right now, they're calling themselves, they're taking the orphans, they're taking all the men out of the houses, and the children are putting in these orphanages. Basically what they're doing is reprogramming them to lose their Muslim identity. And a lot of the women are being given as a prize to the Han Chinese Communist Party loyalists as wives. As you know, Chinese have one-child policy, and many times when they know the child is a female, they abort the pregnancy. So therefore there's a huge imbalance of male versus female. Many people cannot find wives. So they're using Muslim women as a prize to the loyalists of the Communist Party. So very soon, as Muslims here in America, we're going to be enjoying Ramadan. Living here in this country, we enjoy many freedoms. And one of the freedoms that we enjoy is freedom of religion. Pretty soon, we're going to be busy with enjoying Ramadan. We'll be going to attend our Tarawih prayers. We will be really connected with our religion. However, our Chinese and brothers and sisters are going to be forced to eat lunch during lunchtime to make sure that they're not observing Ramadan. They will be forced to eat pork and drink alcohol. So we need to be the voice of the Chinese people or the Uyghur Muslims in China. I'm going to share a few things that we can do to make sure that we can make a difference. And believe me, me and you, we can, as Americans, we can make a difference. What do we need to do? First and foremost, make sure before you leave here today, sign up for the Burma Task Force, because there's a lot of alerts that go out from Burma Task Force. They're going to prompt you to take action. As other speakers have said, there's one bill in Congress, one in Senate. We need to make sure that we contact our elected officials and ask them to support those bills. As a community members, we need to network. We need to make sure that each one of us who's here today need to reach out to at least 25 people. We need to make sure that we know who our elected officials are. If we know who our elected officials are, when a call to action comes out from Burma Task Force, we need to flood the lines of our elected officials. Ask them to support the initiative that is being introduced in both Congress and in Senate. The other thing we can do, brother and sister, something like this costs a lot of money. Lobbying costs money as well. So financially support those organizations who are helping and working on behalf of our Uyghur brothers and sisters. Finally, I myself am not going to buy a Chinese product anymore. You know what they say? Hit them where it counts. So if we, all of us, start a movement to boycott Chinese product, we will hit them where it counts. If all the Muslim world stopped buying Chinese product, we would not be here right now. We need to get the message out. You need to be the ambassadors of Uyghur people. You need to make sure you send out all the messages and encourage all of us, all our brothers and sisters, all of our relatives and community members, and encourage them to take action when we are asked to. Stop buying Chinese product will be step number one. And lastly, I would ask all of you to make dua for our brothers and sisters, that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease the pain all of our brothers and sisters in those concentration camps. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Are we going to boycott Chinese products?
Yes.
Are we going to boycott Chinese products?
Yes.
Now I would like to invite the founder of Campaign for Uyghur, Roshan Abbas. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Jiroqdan, yaqindan kelgan qadrdon qarindoshlar, yaxshimisizlar? Crackdowns continue across the Uyghur region. Everything that's normal religious activities in Islam is being banned. While our people have been subject to brutality and the repression at the occupation of the Chinese Communist government, the situation in East Turkestan in the past 5 years has worsened beyond anyone's imagination. Women and the children have also become the main target of the China's policy of assimilation and the social reengineering, as most of the Uyghur men are locked away in concentration camps. Uyghur women are being forced to marry Chinese men with government gratifications. The girls nor their family members are being able to reject in fear of persecution. The Chinese Communist government is trying to erode the Uyghur ethnic identity and their religion by targeting the children while their parents are being detained in the camps. Uyghur children are being taken away to government-run orphanages. All segments of Uyghur society have been targeted, including my own family. My sister is detained in the Orwellian political education camps. She is detained in retaliation for my public advocacy work. Chinese Communist government is announcing to xenofy Islam by changing the core principles of Islam and getting away with it at the front of the entire world community. How in the world would Islam or any religion be compatible with communist ideologies? I am very saddened by the inactivity of the world communities. The Muslim countries aren't taking any actions to stop the communist China. Where is the Islamist unity as one? And where is the brotherhood to save Muslims from being wiped out? At this point, it's about the right to live and the means to survive as the human being. It challenges basic integrity, not to mention democratic values. It's a crime against humanity and the civilization, collectively punishing an ethnic group with fascistic atrocities should not be allowed in 2019. While politicians discuss the geopolitics and economic relations with China, our people are suffering and dying. In the face of China's power and brutality, we need the international community's help. From north to south and east to west, China's growth and the thirst for power is ceaseless. China is getting away with genocide in order to advance its economic powers. The Uyghurs have become human collateral. Unfortunately for the Uyghurs, their heartland lies in the strategic center of Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative. So China's resolution is to eliminate them as an obstacle is by eradicating them. Today, I appeal to you as the honorable defenders of the democracy and the freedom living in this free country. Lead the world with an action to follow up with the vow never again to China. Stand with us. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Mr. Tuygun Abdouali, the president of the East Turkestani Association of Canada. There are more than, I think, 100 people from Canada. They came all the way from Canada, from different cities of Canada to join us today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalomu alaykum qarindoshlar. Mushaga kelgan Kanadaning har qaysi shaharlaridan va Amerikaning har qaysi joylaridan kelgan qarindoshlarga Kanadadagi qarindoshlarningki chin yuragidan o'tliq salom. Alaykum salom. Hammanglarni mushaga elib kelgan yuraginizga va oilangizdagi xonimingizga va yo'ldoshlaringizga chin yuragimdan salom. Bugün Şarkı Türkistan'ın içindeki Uygur, Kazak ve başka milletler, yani Türk milletleri nait ağır yok oluş girdabı berbatkan bir külpette hemmimizden muşu erkillik sarayda özümüzden erkilliği, müstakilliği, hürlüğü üçün hitap kılıp Amerika Koşmuş Ştatları ve Kongres'e hitap kılıp bu yer yığıldık. Şunun için biz devamlılık algı menişimizde ağımızda gacalavatkanlı olsa gacalaşkı karamay davamlı kalgı menişimizde ümit kılımen. Şundakla Kanada'dan kelgen bütün kırındaşlarga Cenab-ı Allah'ın min mertebe ticaretlerine ve öy ailesine bereket bir işini ümit kılımen. Şunun ile benim sözüm tügüdü.
Now I would like to invite Kuzat Altay. Kuzat is a young Uyghur American entrepreneur. He is the founder and CEO of the Cybertech School and the founder of the Uyghur Entrepreneurs Network. He is campaigning for his father, who is being detained in one of the concentration camps. Kuzat Altay.